Hi, I'm Elena Paris, and welcome to my podcast, Cringevangelical. You're probably wondering what a cringevangelical is. It's actually the one thing that unites every single person who ever grew up that kind of evangelical or fundamentalist Christian. It's for the people who had to wear, skirts down to their ankles, and for the people who were told Harry Potter is witchcraft, and for those of you who, were part of that satanic panic post-80s world of Christianity. And it's just a little podcast for everyone who grew up that way to giggle and to understand it with people who also get it. I grew up fundamentalist myself. I made this as a way to just discuss these absolutely nuts stories that we have and really to move forward, creating community where a lot of us have lost it. One of the things about leaving evangelical Christianity is it's a very lonely place. Even if you do stay within Christianity, it's going to be lonely because evangelicalism becomes the center of your world and becomes your everything. And so when you leave that, you basically lose a lot. And so I think that's part of the goal for this podcast, is to create community, to make people feel less alone. It's to joke, it's to laugh, it's to connect. I have a format for it. I don't really want to spoil the format. I have topics. We'll definitely start with just like an open general topic, but we will do an episode on silly little cringy stories about like anime, or your parents said about D&D, or your youth pastor said about other churches, or that Lifehouse skit, or Christian camp. We're definitely doing a Friday the 13th Christian camp special. But I just wanted to make it known that this is a podcast aimed for and really about deconstructing ex-evangelical fundamentalist Christians, but it's also it's not meant to be the trauma expose podcast. This is for folks that are maybe a few more years out, so not the people who've just left that we see all the time, but for the folks that have processed things more and are able to separate the silly from the downright traumatic. And I wanted to make that clear. It will still toe the line because so much of evangelical Christianity is so traumatic for so many of us. But it is going to be, it's going to be a podcast that does focus on those stories that are funny to you, but it's hard to tell other people because they're just so shocked. And you're exhausted from the constant, like, oh, now I have to explain like why this is weird. I'm your host that just gets it. You don't have to explain to me why, I can't even think right now. The cringe part of my brain is repressing, I guess. But it's really for those people who, especially people who like have left and are married to people who didn't grow up this way, or are around friends significantly who did not grow up this way, and they're constantly feeling just a little different because they just grew up just a little different, and it's just really hard and to explain. This is for you, to laugh with people that are laughing with you, who get it, and to just process. So if that interests you, I'm going to have guests, I'm going to have interesting topics. This is not a podcast you'd have to follow linearly or in chronological order, but it is a podcast you can kind of bounce around with. It is very relaxed. It is not for children, and it's definitely not for current evangelicals, unless you are like a youth group kid who's like, oh my God, this sucks, and this is what you listen to get you through. Yes, it can happen. So if that interests you, this podcast will be starting pretty shortly, and I hope to see, or I guess know from viewership, that you guys are listening. So with that, welcome to Cringevangelical, and we hope to bring you to service soon.